This is the Fractal Terra Case, which I have to say was my very first time building in a Mini ITX form factor. But I'll tell you what, this was probably my favourite computer build I've ever done. In fact, it was easier than some of the other builds I've done that take larger cases because the Fractal Terra was such a pleasure to work with. So the case itself is available in 3 variants. As you can see, I selected jade, but you could also choose from graphite or silver, and each does actually contrast nicely with this wood accented panel at the bottom. Of course, being a Mini ITX case, selecting the right components to go inside it is one of the primary considerations. Of course, you will need to use a Mini ITX motherboard and an SFX power supply. That said, GPU wise, this case will accommodate graphics cards up to 322mm in length, and even graphics cards that can occupy up to 3 I/O slots. As I mentioned, the actual building process itself I found to be an absolute dream. The side panels and also the top panel are easily removed, giving you a lot of freedom in handling the internal hardware as you go through installation. The case does accommodate a single 2.5-inch SSD drive if you wish to install one. And one great feature is the ability to completely reorient the whole internal structure of the case in order to accommodate either a larger CPU cooler or a larger GPU. And the way it works is so easy. There are 4 screws that need to be removed, and then the entire internal structure can be moved from side to side. However, when building in a case such as this, that if you do have, for example, a larger graphics card, you are going to need to have a lower profile CPU cooler in order to get both inside. And that brings me to one of 2 potential downsides for this case. The first one being is that you are going to have extremely limited options when it comes to overall cooling. AIO cooling is effectively out of the question here, and there are some mounting options on the bottom if you want to set up some very low profile fan coolers. That said, even with low profile coolers, depending on the rest of your hardware, you may not be able to squeeze those in. I think what's intended here by Fractal is, with all this venting on the sides and the top, is that we're going to have a lot more natural cooling here, and you can orient the PSU to serve either as an intake or an exhaust. For me, with the Ryzen 5 CPU, a gaming session will typically take the temperatures of the CPU to the high 60s. That said, I do have a smaller GPU installed here, which does allow for a little bit more airflow. As a side note, if you're using one of the Founders Edition's GPUs from NVIDIA that has a fan on either side, then the case can accommodate those too, and it gives you some special standoffs for the PSU in order to do so. But the only other potential downside is the fact that there is no front panel audio here, which isn't a problem for me, but if you do like to just plug some headphones into the front panel that use a typical audio cable, then you are not going to be able to do so. That said, what we do have are 2 USB ports, including a USB-C port that is capable of speeds up to 20 gigabits per second. But overall, I think the Fractal Terra is a wonderful case. I'm absolutely in love with this. Not only was it so easy to build in, but on top of that, it just looks terrific. It really does. So folks, thank you for checking out my quick review for my new Fractal Terra case. I'm a big fan of it. Thanks for watching.